This edition of Daily Mutterings brought to you by Room That Needs to Be Freaking Cleaned. Oh yeah, it needs to be picked up. You should do it today. Caleb, I'm talking to you. Pick up your room. As soon as you're done recording this, pick it up. Getting to realize like what genre of anime I most prefer. You know, you're always sitting back. If you're anything like me, you end up watching like some of the newer shows and you're going, there's just isn't the same flair as there used to be. And I'm not going to be one of those types of guys who starts just talking about, you know, oh, everything was better back in the old days. The animation was better, the stories were better. Because honestly, I think to a certain extent, it's sort of a load of chocobo crap. You're just looking at it from the perspective of, I think in this particular year, I could see where your argument is coming from, just because there hasn't been all that much great anime this year. But just on the whole, I think that there's a lot more quality stuff than people tend to, than the nostalgics tend to say that there is not. I'm not getting to a point here, but I'm sure that there is one eventually. Don't worry about it. Let's start this over. Anyways, I apologize for that little mini rant. I'm talking about Ghost Hound, which is a really great anime. I think it came out like 2007, 2006. I'm naturally biased in this particular case because I just started watching it on Netflix. I watched the first episode and I went, oh my god, this is really good. This is really good. Like, this is the sort of stuff that I'm usually into. It's slow paced. It has a lot of really nitty gritty sci-fi. It's psychological. You know, that's always the kind of stuff that I dig. And I'm looking at the director who did it, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe this. It's the director who did Kino's Journey, which for any of you who have listened to me before, I think you've probably heard me rave about how wonderful Kino's Journey is. I consider it to be one of the great anime masterpieces, honestly. It's so unique, it's so dense, it's so completely different from anything that I had seen before that point. And this feels a lot like Kino's Journey. Obviously, I mean, even the art design is very similar, but it's not as good so far, definitely. I've only watched like 5 episodes, and pretty much it's this kid who went through a traumatic incident in his past, and he's coming to grips with it through psychotherapy and a bunch of other, like, crap. He's basically going through therapy, and he's going nuts, and there's all these other kids who are like, you know, have been traumatized by something in their past. One of them was dropped as a baby and has brain abnormalities. One of them is afraid of heights because of, I'm not going to give away any more spoilers, but this is all stuff that's pretty much revealed within the first 4 or 5 episodes anyways. It's nothing more than, you know, what they would show in your average ADV trailer. But it's pretty much just going into these kids and like dealing with these psychological issues through strange science fiction hijinks. It's very, very slow-paced, very gritty, and I definitely admire the art design. There's just this particular genre, along the lines of Ghost Hound. I love this kind of anime. It's the sort of thing that got me into it in the first place. I was never really the moe type. I never got into that particular side of it, I think, until, and honestly, most of the moe shows that I do like are because I honestly think the shows are funny, and not because of the sex appeal factor. I never really quite got into that particular element of it. I've always been, for at least the shows themselves, I like the nitty gritty. I do. I like the science fiction, like something that you would think that you would see from like Christopher Nolan or like Clockwork Orange or 2001: A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner, like anime that feel like that, but yet have a cartoony aesthetic. I have no problem with shows, obviously. Like, I love The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, I love Lucky Star, I love Azumanga Daioh, but they are not what represents anime for me, I don't think. Evangelion certainly is one of the shows that for me embodies my love and my passion for anime. There's other shows along those lines. Kino's Journey is another one. Cowboy Bebop, Full Metal Alchemist. Just the greats. The absolute classics. And it's such a shame that I think a lot of people are... Now I'm going to sound like one of the nostalgics that I was just making fun of. A lot of people are, I think, losing sight of that particular element of it. I mean, when you hear about anime, the first thing that comes to mind are cute little girls and like little skirts and everything, and it's a shame, really. It is, because I think it's prohibiting a lot of creative storytelling, because they tend to fall back on a lot of these cliches of like the skirts flying up and you get to see people's panties and like all the perverted jokes, which, you know, they're all fine and everything, but I wish there was more stuff like Ghost Hound and Kino's Journey and Serial Experiments Lane, even though Serial Experiments Lane gets so insane at the end that I can't possibly comprehend it. It is still good in that kind of tone. And I suppose if you had stuff like that all the time, you would start getting sick of it too and would wish for something more lighthearted. But, you know, I'm just sort of beginning to realize that I prefer the more mature stuff, and it's like, wow, I didn't even really think about it before. You know, the cute stuff is fine. I think adorable things that are adorable are cute. That made perfect sense, that sentence. But, you know, it is what it is. And I'm going to turn this off now since I'm not going to be making any more sense. I'm going to just let my eyes roll back into the back of my head. And I'm just going to fall back into a sleep. Ugh. Turn off the camera.